Why? You know, I could kill your collective clan, you clock-sucking clunk. Oh, I nearly didn't miss. 2 times. Yes, 3rd time's the charm. Well, g'day, I'm Hichory Diamond. Now, I know you're used to me being Grassy Beans, but because this episode is called Hichory Diamond, I figured I might as well be Hickory for this episode. That's a pretty good idea, Grassy. Acclamations all round. Well, thanks everybody. I do appreciate the crap that you carry on with. And speaking of crap, here's a message from our producer. That's me. I'm the producer. The message is as follows. I will be doing the voice for Hichory Diamond, but don't be misled by the smooth, mellow tones of my voice. Just because I have a big, hairy, gruff, masculine voice doesn't mean that Hickory is a woman. No, you're not allowed to make that assumption. Only I am, because I am Hickory. And that was a good shot. Got that caribou right in the carotid artery. He'll bleed out in the next few minutes. All I have to do now is keep up to the caribou and not offend the LGBTQIAPK community anymore. I'm hoping that's a lot easier than saying it. That's a real mouthful, that is. And there you go, dinner for one. Also, just in case you hadn't noticed from the distinct change in my voice, I've assumed the character of Hickory now. And just to prove it, g'day, I'm Hickory. Hichory Diamond. See, told ya. This episode is about me, Hichory Diamond. Hold on a minute, I'm being set upon. Here's some dramatic being set upon music. Done like a dinner. But wait, there's more. Run, Hickory, run like a wounded caribou. There's nothing that can catch them, unless they're dead. Just gotta put some distance between me and them. Luckily I'm not bleeding, I would never have made that sprint otherwise. Well, that looks far enough. Now I can do a quick BNI protocol modification. And there you are, much better. And now I'm ready for round 2. Come and get me, skunks. There, triumphant we stand. Just check the horizon, make sure there's no more coming. We're all good. And now it's back to carving up lunch. In the meantime, you should prepare your ears for an encounter of the listening kind. And I'll regale you with the stimulating story of Hichory Diamond. Which means I'm going to be talking about myself, Hickory. And you're going to be listening to me talking about myself, Hickory. As you know already, I was born in Queensland in the year 2056, which was apparently 9 years after what the people call the Terminal War. And I say apparently because The timekeeping system of the past generations no longer exists. The days are still 24 hours long, but almost everything else has been redefined. I'm told that the moon had a 28-day cycle. That's now a 7-day cycle. They used to count the months to indicate the seasons. Seasons no longer exist. And what was measured as a year, one revolution of the Earth around the Sun, is no longer 365 days. It seems that when the black hole pulled the moon from its orbit, it also gave the Earth a gentle nudge as well. All of these things I know because of my mentor, and his name is Author. In reality, Author is just a nickname that we gave him, we being his students. It's actually a shortened version of a much longer name, which is Orphanovanopoulos. But even that isn't his real name. That name came about because he refuses to talk about his childhood. The story goes that he never knew his parents, and he basically grew up on the streets of a large city. Author always referred to that city as a metropolis. So anytime anyone asks of his childhood, his standard cryptic reply is, "I'm just an orphan of a metropolis," which easily morphed into Orphanovanopoulos. It's a perfectly natural progression, you see. Orphanovanopoulos is a very long name to say out loud all the time, so we just call him Author. So Author is about 66 of your years old, and he lived through the war, as did many of the mentors. Author says that we're now living on Earth 1.02 because he says the Earth that he grew up in was totally decimated and resuscitated on 2 separate occasions. The first occasion was the Terminal War, and then came the Great Lunar Conflagration. I'll tell the story of those events another time. For now, I am supposed to be talking about Hichory Golden Diamond. Yes, Golden is my middle name, and just because I haven't mentioned it before doesn't mean that I made it up just then. But before I talk more about me, I'm dying to talk some words about my kill cage. That's where we are right now. We're in my kill cage. The kill cage's most prominent feature at the moment is the wall-to-wall glory holes. I put those in a couple of weeks ago, and they're good for relieving my tension. Another feature of the kill cage is the one I'm working on right now, the crush. I've incorporated this design because I'm hoping it will minimize reciprocal events while maximizing Skarkinian elimination. I'll be doing a practical demonstration on how the crush works real soon. Till then, I'm going to roll my eyes and talk about my heritage. I'll start from the end and work backwards. My great-grandfather, Michael Diamond, was born in 1972. He was a famous Olympic shot putter back in the day. Michael had several children officially and one illegitimate son. That son was Frederick Diamond, my grandfather. Fred was no one special, but he did sire my father, Oscar. Talking about family is always so exciting. Right now, though, the night of the Horde is about to go down. Just got to give them a chance to break through the spikes that I put out there for them. Until then, here's a little horrendous Horde music. Here we go now, the inaugural test of the crush. You can see that I've left one panel off the cage so that I can access the door easily, and then I just open the outer door and let them in. I can either let them in measured numbers, or I just leave the door open and let them come flooding in. Either way, they're in my house and caged, and that means they're mine to do with as I please. So I kill them. I think what I should do is get myself a shotgun or a blunderbuss. That'd be fun. And just for demonstration purposes, here's one I made earlier next week. Oh my that was abundant fun. Pity it was a flashback from next week's Horde Night. Never mind, I think I can still do some legendary killing with my exquisite bow and arrow. But I've still got a million things that I want to say ironic and astonishing stuff about, so I'll continue assaulting your existence from where I left off. And I have to be honest here, I have no idea where I left off. So I think my safest bet would be just to continue my disquisition on me, Hichory. It all started 14 days ago. I somehow just appeared in this place. At first I thought that my temporal swing alignment data must have just got screwed up. But once I encountered the Skarkan, I knew the reality. We all learn about this back in my time, but it's only taught as a theory. It has never actually happened before. And now I know that I'm stuck here in this time, in this world, with no hope of escape. My life's focus now has become one of survival. A quick digression here. This is a good demonstration of one of the many advantages of the Crush. With the outer door closed, I now have full and safe access to all of the Skarkases. Skarkas is a word from my lore and could best be explained as the carcass of a Skarkan, or a Skarkan's carcass. And now back to the story. My home is in the year 2085, which makes me 29 years old. 2085 is also some 65 years in the future from your time. Remember though that any dates and times stated are very arbitrary because they are all based in the old timekeeping system, which we no longer use. No one in my time bothers with times and dates, we all just live for the here and now. And don't try to contemplate the time distortion factor here, being that I originated from the year 2085, yet I'm speaking to you from the game world setting, which is some 30 years in your future, and 6 years before I was even born. I will be attempting to explain all that a little later. For now, don't think about it because it will folk with your brain, and I need your brain fully unfolked for when I try to explain it. And that could take some time. Ha! Dropped him like the Skarkan scoundrel that he is. And now I think it's time I tried to explain exactly where I am and how I got here. I've been thinking about this ever since I got here 2 weeks ago, and now I think I may have it figured out. When I arrived here, the place appeared for all intents and purposes to be my home. But I docked in the wilderness, which means I was dropped out of the temporal swing along the way somehow. I should have docked at the Hawking clan's temporal dock. That was my stated destination because I was heading home at the time. And now I might be getting ahead of myself a little bit here because it occurs to me that I'm talking about things that you will have no understanding of. Things like docking and the temporal swing and the Hawking clan. I should probably explain all these things before I go any further, so I might do a little bit of backtracking here. Right now, however, a little quiet because these explodey things are so much fun. Yes, that's some really good explosioning. But where are the hordes when you need them? This is one abysmally quiet horde night. Ah, here we go. Righto, well, I'll probably come back to that later then. Meanwhile, I might as well get into clarifying the meanings of some of these esoteric words I've been throwing around. And I'm going to assume that you have at least some prior knowledge to what I'm going to explain to you now. The world population in my time is 500 million. That is a population number which was determined by the free radical scientists to be the optimum global population for sustainability and lifestyle. And we reached that population figure about 28 years after the conflagrations. Ooh, I enjoy doing this. We're going to take a little break here, just so that we can marvel at this spectacularly superlative headshot. Oh my, I'm groaning in ecstatic joy. I need some cell sack. Well, that's enough of that now. I was talking about the world population. This population is dispersed among organised groups known as established satellite settlements. Each settlement consists of 5,000 people, and there are 100,000 settlements worldwide. The terminal war wiped most of the human population from existence, and that's why they called it the Terminal War. After that, the moon was struck by Halley's Comet, which brought an abrupt end to the war, but the debris that rained down on the Earth over the next 2 years all but finished us off. Now, as advanced as we are here in Australia with our S-plasma enhancement, our bionomites, our super special salubriously smart scientists, we still have the shittiest internet in the world. And this is a demonstration of what we have to endure on an annoyingly regular basis. Oh, I was playing here, but guess what? Internet error. You've been disconnected. Do try again later. You may have better luck next time. And it's never fixed that quickly. I had to cut a lot out of that. And now, after that shameless fourth wall break, and now that I've made my point, I was talking about Earth's population in the aftermath. The final population count after both conflagration events was a meagre 12,000. And the only reason these 12,000 survived was because they were the original members of the core free radical movement, which meant that they had all been inoculated with S-plasma enhancement. There were other survivors, but because they didn't have the S-plasma advantage, they died out quickly. Now, if you don't know or remember what S-plasma is, I recommend that you go back and watch episode 5 again. And while you're at it, watch all the episodes again. I could use the extra cell sack. Now that's what I call a seething sack of skarken. Wish I had that blunderbuss now. I think it's going to get too noisy for me to talk here, so here's music. My God, they make a lot of noise. Well now, I had started explaining the clans. I don't know how I got so off track. Probably too much glory hole interaction, I'd say. Or it may have something to do with my serious obsession with cell sacchary. Either way, it's time I got back to explaining the clans. So each established satellite settlement, or clan, is given a clan name which is taken from a list of names of prominent scientists from the past. I was born into the Hawking clan, so named for the famous theoretical physicist Stephen Hawking. The Hawking clan is where I call home. In time I'll cover more detail on this topic, but for now I want to move on to explain the temporal swing and docking. Now, before I can start explaining the temporal swing, I first need to explain the quantum computing nodes, or the QCNs. This is one of the greatest discoveries ever made in any scientific field. Discovered by the free radical scientists, the QCNs are a hybridized isotope of the hydrogen atom, and it's the QCNs that are at the heart of the bionites and the S-plasma. And now I can explain temporal swing. So the temporal swing was a phenomenon that was discovered by the free radical scientists shortly before the Terminal War, and the discovery of the temporal swing led to the invention of a technology that used the temporal environment to locate and map the QCNs within the human body. And those QCNs, along with the human host, are then held within an electromagnetic field and can be transmitted to anywhere on the globe. And that is how teleportation was achieved. The procedure of being teleported from one place to another is known as a temporal swing, and each clan has a temporal swing terminal. The terminal where you are being transmitted to or from is referred to as the temporal dock. So when I travelled from one clan back to my home, the Hawking clan, I should have docked in the Hawking clan's temporal dock. Instead, I docked in the wilderness, which means that I was dropped out of the temporal swing somewhere along the way. Now, I know that these explanations might seem a little cursory at this stage, but remember, I was supposed to be talking about me, Hichory Diamond, but somebody kept distracting me, didn't they? Not to worry, I'll get more chance to talk about my glorious self in the future. And try not to worry about the explanatory inadequacy of all this scientific talk. It'll all be cleared up in next week's episode, which will be called Scientific Talk. Well, this has been grand, but until I see you in the next episode, this has been Hichory Diamond vexing your very existence. This is the end of episode 7. There is still so much more to come. You should join me again in the next episode. If you enjoyed my video, please do all the things. That is, Cellsack, share and like, subscribe and comment. I love when people Cellsack me.